evening and welcome to this edition of The List on UWW-TV. I'm Chris Pittner alongside David Pallier. For the next few minutes, we'll present our top 5 sports stories of the week and discuss why they made our top 5. Did your top 5 make our list? Let's find out. At number 5, the NFL Draft happened this past weekend and everyone across the nation was tuned in to see who the number 1 overall pick would be. David, what about the draft surprised you?
Well, I definitely think that the position that the 2 top running backs were taken by the Falcons and the Lions definitely threw a wrench in things. The Falcons taking Bijan Robinson out of Texas at pick number 8, even though they already have premier 1,000-yard rusher Tyler Algier, who in my opinion is one of the most underrated rookies in the league last year, and Cordell Patterson, who's still a productive back despite his age. I'm not really sure how Bijan is going to fit into that scheme, and I definitely think there was other needs that the Falcons should have addressed first. And then the Lions really, in my opinion, reached a little bit at pick 12 with Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama. I think they had some very reckoning needs on their defensive line, and you know the common thing about taking a running back that early in the draft hasn't really panned out much in the past. It's very interesting to see what they're going to do since they still have DeAndre Swift and David Montgomery. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see. But was very surprised to see 2 running backs taken within the top 15.
I was a little surprised to see the Packers decide to go with the defensive player Lucas Van Ness with the 13th overall pick. I really thought they were going to go with offense, especially because Jaxon Smith-Njigba was still on the board. In fact, any receiver did not get taken until the 20th overall pick when JSN got taken, which was rather surprising to me.
At story number 4, the first round of the NBA playoffs have finished, and we're now moving into the second round of the conference semifinals, with some fan-favorite teams already been eliminated, such as the Milwaukee Bucks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Memphis Grizzlies for better or worse, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Those are just a couple of teams who have already been eliminated. But Chris, how do you think the playoffs are going to go in this round?
I really think it's so unpredictable right now, especially with how some of the matchups have gone initially. The Suns-Nuggets has looked to be... The Nuggets are definitely in control of that one to this point. It is going back to Phoenix, though, for games 3 and 4. The Lakers series, there was game 1 last night. The Lakers pulled that one out. The Knicks-Heat has definitely been a great series so far. Jimmy Butler was injured for game 2. He played very well in game 1 until he got injured, and he actually stayed on the court for the majority of the end of that game, which I thought showed a lot of character and determination on his part. And I really think the Heat have a good advantage being able to steal one in Madison Square Garden and go home with hopefully Jimmy Butler returning.
Yeah, I definitely think in terms of hot teams, the Nuggets have definitely looked the part of the team that we saw in the first round of the playoffs and in the regular season. In a game where Jamal Murray shot 4 for 19 from the field, Jokic just completely carried the load with 39 points and 16 rebounds. I think the Nuggets have looked just as good as they've ever looked. They're still undefeated at home in the playoffs, and they're my pick to win the NBA Finals.
Moving on to story number 3, Brewers manager Craig Counsell and shortstop Willy Adames were both ejected during Saturday's game against the Los Angeles Angels. Both were ejected by umpire Adam Beck after Beck refused to give Adames the timeout he requested, and then again when Adames violated the pitch clock. David, did you happen to see the calls against Adames, and what did you think about the unfair strikes not only in that situation but across the league?
Well, I think the situation with Adames is just another example of the discrepancy between hitters and umpires with the new pitch clock rules. We've seen multiple examples of it. We saw a similar situation with White Sox shortstop Tim Anderson, who failed to get the call for a disengagement even though he clearly signaled for a timeout. We saw JT Realmuto get ejected in a Grapefruit League game for spring training for a similar situation. A situation with Jock Peterson arose just a few weeks ago, and I think the umpires have had just as tough of a time adjusting to the pitch clock rules as the hitters have, and I think on both sides more can be done. I think the new rules with the disengagement leave a little bit to be desired because there are some clear instances like this case with Adames where it's clear that he wants a timeout, it's clear that he wants a disengagement, but if the pitcher's already set, then the umpire won't give it to him. And even though I believe that Adames and Craig Counsell were in the right, I think one of the biggest things to take into account with the umpires is that they don't like to have their authority questioned, and when they make a call, they don't like it when people get mad. So Counsell getting mad at the umpire, I think, really set a fuse off with Adam Beck, and that's why he was ejected.
Yeah, I really think in that situation, Adames kind of started things, and Counsell, since the umpire Adam Beck had already a short fuse, it was easy for him to make that ejection. And then when Adames eventually struck out in that at-bat, it was really easy when he questioned the umpire again to just simply throw him out. We've got more coming up on the list, including yet another dominant Whitewater team. We will be right back.
For Hawk Talk, especially on days I'm hosting, you really need to be up early looking at those news stories. Even the night before, I'm finding topics that I can incorporate in the show, and I feel like we get a conversation going.
Once you get the opportunity to do that with other people who appreciate it the same level as you do, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
For everything sports, tune in Monday through Thursday at 91.7 The Edge or watch us on UWW-TV.
Here at UW Whitewater Intramural Sports, we have a motto: a sport for everyone and everyone in a sport.
Come on! That's it anyways. Oh, she got that off, and they're going to count it.
Had a blast. Always have fun at intramurals.
Every day we strive to go above and beyond that goal by providing healthy exercise, promoting leisure education, and giving students that competitive atmosphere they are looking for.
Yes! Yes!
It's exciting. Brings me back to those high school days with Friday Night Lights.
With our 25 different intramural sports offered, we guarantee that we have a sport for you. Go to our website and find your sport today.
Number 32, Kyle Hornsby.
Inside the 30. Touchdown. Michaela Burgess. An incredible finish by Hall.
The NCAA and its member schools offer nearly 500,000 college athletes a path to go pro in something other than sports. Learn more at ncaa.org.
As an Army ROTC cadet at Whitewater, you have the opportunity to develop into a great leader while learning and applying the Army values to your everyday life. Within ROTC, you have the chance to travel overseas in the CULP program to train with other militaries, attend many elite Army schools such as Airborne and Combat Diver, and you have the opportunity to attend conferences and guest lectures by some of the Army's top-ranking officers. Our Warhawk cadets participate in many extracurricular activities, Division III sports, Greek life, intramural sports, among many other team building and community service events. Being a cadet at Whitewater is more than just being part of the Army. It's also about being active members in our community and coming together to form a family atmosphere. Anyone who wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves while developing themselves professionally should consider UW Whitewater ROTC. To sign up for UW Whitewater ROTC, go to the 4th floor of McCutcheon Hall to room 417.
Welcome back to the list on UWW-TV. Let's continue the countdown to this week's top sports stories. At story number 2, tennis takes the titles. Both the UW Whitewater men's and women's tennis teams took their tournament titles this past weekend, with the women taking the WIAC title for the 15th consecutive season and the New Jersey Athletic Conference title for the 2nd consecutive season, both claiming automatic bids into the NCAA tournament. Chris, how do you think our teams will match up in this tournament?
I mean, the men's team definitely has a lot of solid players on it. Cole Lindwall and Tyler Nelson are both names that stick out as the number 2 doubles pairing, and Tyler Nelson is also a freshman who clinched the match against Pomona College, who's another ranked team. to win 5-4. He was the walk-off match. Both teams have frankly been dominant in conference. The men's team has not lost since 2007 in a conference match. Head coach Frank Barnes has been incredibly successful. He's taken to the team to the round of 16 multiple times, and they've just been incredibly dominant through the years.
Yeah, I think especially the performances against UW La Crosse and UW Eau Claire, both 5-0 to win the WEAC tournament. That is just the type of momentum that it carries going into the biggest stage is going to really do a lot for the team's mental and physical aspirations. Obviously, to go in with that type of dominance, it's exactly how you want to finish to go into a stage where you're going to be playing the toughest competition that's available.
The women's team is currently ranked 6th in the latest ITA regional rankings, and they play Northwestern St. Paul tomorrow in Chicago. And if they get past them, they most likely have to face off against the 20-0 Carleton Knights, who swept St. Olaf and Gustavus Adolphus 5-2 in their conference tournament. The men's team is currently ranked 7th in the region, and they will play the MSOE Raiders, and the winner faces the host school, Gustavus Adolphus. Now it is time to reveal our number one topic of the week, which will be the top stars battle of the Los Angeles Lakers and Golden State Warriors at the number one spot. One of the biggest matchups in the NBA is taking place this year, as LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers will be going up against Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, with many fans praising both players for their stats. David, who do you think is going to make it to the conference finals of these two teams?
Well, I'd like to say that this is going to be the best matchup of the second round. These two teams, I think, are very evenly matched. I think despite the fact that the Warriors are coming off of the NBA title, their team is a bit weaker this year, and the Lakers have looked like a completely different team after the trade deadline with the acquisitions of guys like D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt. This is definitely going to be an interesting series because I think that there are advantages in the positional skill ranges on each side. I don't think there's a guard on the Lakers that's able to contain Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, or Jordan Poole. But at the same time, I don't really know anyone on the Warriors in terms of their front court that's going to be able to contain Anthony Davis, which I think was very apparent as he had 30 and 20 last night in the Warriors' loss against the Lakers. So I think it's going to come down to which coach is able to take advantage of the positional mismatches that exist on the floor.
One stat that really stands out to me, David, is the fact that the Lakers made 6 threes as a team last night, and I believe it was Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole all made 6 threes apiece in that game. The Warriors were taking a lot of threes, and the Lakers were really getting the ball inside and dominating in the paint, which is kind of what we expected from this series. They play very different styles of basketball, like you said. The Warriors really relying on their outside game and perimeter offense, and the Lakers really being able to take the ball inside and score points in the paint, and that's really where the Warriors have a weak spot defensively. That will do it for this edition of The List. We'll be back next week to talk up the sports headlines. For David Pallier, I'm Chris Pittner, and we will see you then.